It's Tuesday, January 31st, 2017. I'm your host, Sara Mannal. We have a great show in store for you today. Barnstable police arrest We have a great show for you today. Unemployment numbers are down. We get details with Cape and Islands Workforce Investment Board Executive Director David Augustino. We're going to find out more about an effort to improve zoning in Hyannis with Interim Growth Management Director Elizabeth Jenkins. And we'll find out more about a new program to help seniors age in place with Assistant Senior Services Director Donna Burns. We are having technical difficulties with our teleprompter this morning, so we're going to go ahead and get started with that first interview of the day. We'll be back with more news headlines. To find out how the employment market is doing, we have with us David Augustino, the Executive Director of the Cape and Islands Workforce Investment Board. Want to talk, how are we doing with our employment numbers?
Well, good morning, Sarah. We're doing pretty well with our employment numbers, but believe it or not, having low unemployment is not necessarily great for our businesses, and I'll explain that in a minute. But for right now, in December, our unemployment rate was 4.2% for Barnstable County, which is down from 6.8% at the same time last year.
That seems like a pretty huge, significant improvement.
It is a huge, huge drop in employment, and it's not like there are fewer people working or anything like that. I think you can legitimately say that people are at work and stuff. So that's great news for job seekers, but it's not great news for employers, because what's happening is employers across the board in every sector of our economy are having trouble finding the workers that they need to be able to accomplish their tasks. So it's almost an embarrassment of riches would be one way to describe it, but it's a very painful situation for employers because it keeps them, especially when you're talking hospitality employers. Right now, of course, they're looking ahead to the busy season starting in the spring, and it's going to be very difficult to add people to their workforce when they're having trouble adding them now. So, we probably add the numbers, the last time we looked, it was a while back, but I think they still hold. We had somewhere between 15 and 20,000 workers, which is somewhere around 15 to 20% of our workforce for our busy summer season. So it's going to be very stressful for our employers, and we know last year we had some employers who didn't open as early as they would have liked to have, might have not had their full dining room open for some of the restaurants, and even some of the hoteliers are having difficulty, especially, right now we're coming up to the winter vacation for schools, so in February, and it's hard to hire somebody for a week, and you don't do that. We're actually working with the Catania Hospitality Group, trying to identify high school students who might be willing to do some housekeeping for their properties during the February vacation. So
interesting.
So it's good news, but it does cause some issues for our employers.
Yeah, especially when we're thinking about such a seasonal economy like we have here on Cape Cod, where we have such a hotel, restaurant economy. I mean, much of the local businesses.
Yeah,
here.
The hospitality is still the largest employer when you add the lodgings, the restaurants, and the attractions, the arts, museums and stuff. That still is a larger employer than healthcare. But healthcare is our second largest employer, and healthcare offers a number of family-sustaining wage occupations that balance out the hospitality industry a little bit. But healthcare is having trouble finding their employees. Contractors having trouble finding employees. I mean, it's across the board, whether it's everything from the banks, insurance companies, to landscapers and hospitality. Everybody is having trouble sourcing talent this year.
Do you think that'll increase the use of the J-1 visa program for this summer?
One of the things when I talk to, especially to people from off Cape about our the seasonality, and by the way, I always like to add, I've been here for 16 years at the Workforce Board, and we are much less a seasonal economy than we were, especially from the Orleans area back up through the Upper Cape. Obviously, Provincetown, Truro, Wellfleet, Eastham, those are still highly seasonal areas. But I think in general, we're much more of a year-round economy. But I always say that our hospitality employers for time immemorial have been very resourceful in how they deal with their labor shortages due to the seasonality. So over the years, they've used college students when college students could afford to come here and work and live here and still save enough money to help with their college costs. For the last 15 years or so, H-2B and J-1 visas have been very important, and the J-1 visas especially will be more important. It looks like there's a squeeze on the H-2B visas, again, in that they're not holding back any of the cap for our season. In other words, the federal year starts in October, so they're looking at, so a lot of the warm weather locations and even the ski resorts in the West eat up a lot of the visas before we even get a chance to apply for them. So that's a problem with the H-2B
program. So we're going to even have competition here to get access to people who want to take part in that program.
Yeah, exactly. And what our employers are hoping is that they'll do an exception and allow returning H-2B visa employees. So some of our larger employers. Already a lot of the mom and pops, the smaller places who used to maybe get 2, 3, or 4 H-2B visas, they don't even bother anymore because of the costs and the paperwork involved to do it now. It's very time-consuming process. So I think that the J-1 visas will be important. And you know, I saw an article recently about J-1s, and they really misidentified the visa. They said it's a work visa, and it's not a work visa. That's a cultural visa. These are mostly university students who are coming from Europe, mostly, not entirely, but mostly from Europe. And a lot from Eastern Europe, and it's supposed to be an opportunity for them to experience the United States as well, and they are allowed to work as part of that experience.
Interesting. Good to know. I want to talk to you before we run out of time about an important partnership that you guys have with the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. You're actually going to have some sector talks. Tell me a little bit about this partnership.
Well, because of the difficulty that employers are having in developing their workforce, and this goes back even when workers were abundant, there's a lot of people refer to a skills gap between what employer needs are and what the job seekers are offering. So Wendy Northcross at the Chamber in her board of directors have made workforce one of their top issues for this work year for them. So they've established a workforce development task force, and I've joined with Linda Markham from Cape Air. The president of Cape Air is heading up this effort on behalf of the Chamber. And so we've scheduled a group of sector initiatives all in February, February 2nd, 10th, 13th, 14th, and 15th in different sectors. So we're going to look at hospitality, construction, retail, banking and finance, and business services as sectors, and try and meet with employers in a roundtable kind of setting. I'll be providing them with some information, some data about their industry, which I love to do because it gives us a chance to show them what we think we know, and then they tell us what reality is. So it's a nice back and forth. They'll have a takeaway with that, and we'll be able to listen to their concerns and issues and hopefully try to design some activities that will help.
Wonderful. I'm sure we can get information on the Cape and Islands Workforce Investment Board website as well as the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce website.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, David, for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Sarah.
Our guest today, David Augustino, Executive Director of the Cape and Islands Workforce Investment Board. All right, now let's take a look at today's top headlines. The town of Barnstable could soon have a new assistant town manager. Town council will vote on the appointment of Michael Andrew Clyburn at its meeting this week. Also on the agenda is an appropriation order for $138,000 to seal and paint the airport terminal aircraft parking apron. Town council meets this Thursday night at 7 in the town hall hearing room. Work on the site of the new Hyannis Fire Station is underway. Crews began demolition this week. The new station will be built next to the current station in the vacant lot next to CVS and on the lot behind the station on Bassett Lane. Construction will go out to bid this week. Officials expect construction will begin sometime this spring. Separating fact from fiction is a little more challenging in today's digital world. Fake news articles are appearing more and more on social media sites like Facebook and Twitter. That's why a group of journalists and teachers are planning a lecture on fake news at Cape Cod Community College. Professor Carrie Drohan, a former editor at the Boston Globe, Tim Giralmi, a reference librarian, and others will take part in the forum. The event will be held at Cape Cod Community College in Lecture Hall A at 1 p.m. Monday, February 6th. The Barnstable School Committee will get a first look at the FY18 school budget next week. Deputy Finance Director Gareth Markwell will present the proposed budget, along with Superintendent of Schools Meg Mayo-Brown. Also on the agenda is further discussion of ending class rank at Barnstable High School. The school committee was scheduled to meet tonight. That meeting has been moved to Thursday, February 9th at 7 in the Town Hall hearing room. Well, up next, the growth incentive zone in Hyannis is being reevaluated. To learn more about the process and public outreach, we chat with Interim Growth Management Director Elizabeth Jenkins. It is time to renew the growth incentive zone here in Hyannis. To learn more about that, we have with us Interim Growth Management Director Elizabeth Jenkins. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Sarah. Thank you for having me.
Very excited to learn a little bit more about this. We talked a little bit about this a couple weeks ago, I think, when we were learning about the survey. That survey would just ended.
Just closed. So the Cape Cod Commission had put together a survey to reach out to residents, business owners, really, seasonal folks, anybody who experiences downtown Hyannis, just to get some ideas about their thoughts. What are their perceptions of Hyannis? What do they feel like Hyannis does really well, and what do you feel like some of the challenges and opportunities there? So that was a Cape Cod Commission effort, and you're right, that survey just closed last week.
And did they get that broad response that they were looking for? Did a lot of people that visit Hyannis, work in Hyannis, live in Hyannis, did you get a wide response?
They did. Well, we just got the results, so we're still taking a look at them, but they got somewhere around 1,100 people respond, which I thought was fantastic.
That's pretty good.
I think it just shows that people are really invested in the Hyannis community and in making it a better place. So they did. They got a lot of local response, but they got respondents from all 15 towns. So Hyannis is a regional destination for Cape Cod. So I'm glad we got feedback from people all across Cape Cod, and we got a lot of people who identified themselves as seasonal residents too, which is great. I think that was one of the things the survey was really aimed at, was trying to get people who may not be available to come to a public meeting or to talk to their local official, and got their feedback through that process too. So we were really happy.
Everybody has their own perspective, right? Everyone's coming from their own different place. What is the goal of sort of evaluating the growth incentive zone, making sure it's working before it's renewed?
Sure. So I mean, really, when I guess the broad goal here is to really work towards the original goals of the growth incentive zone, which was to set the table from a development regulation standpoint to encourage downtown Hyannis to redevelop into a year-round community that supports all ages of people, that supports a broad range of housing types, and that has a really vibrant commercial core. And I think some of that has been really, really successful. I think when you look at property values in downtown Hyannis, when you look at Hyannis Main Street, and really just the outstanding success that we've seen in private investment to make that kind of commercial core more vibrant over the past 10 years, you can see that it's worked really, really well. I mean, I think the town should be extremely proud and the commission for that effort they've put together. I think where we fell behind a little bit is the housing piece. The number of housing units that we created in the downtown the number wasn't quite what we had hoped for. So this time around, we're really focusing on housing. How can we create those year-round units for, not just for seasonal folks. I mean, certainly that's a market, but create it for for the workforce, people who are employed in downtown Hyannis, young professionals, people with families. How can we attract those people to Hyannis through expanding our housing market?
Expanding the housing market, but also taking into consideration that a lot of these people aren't going to have the income necessary to, buy a typical condo that's maybe marketed in Hyannis. How do we meet that challenge, Elizabeth?
So you've got the issue right there. Is that when if you create a mid-priced unit, it's going to get snatched up by seasonal people because people want to be on Cape Cod. This is a special place. People are excited to be here. So that's exactly what we're trying to look at doing through some creative models, through talking to the 4 major employers on Cape Cod and making them a part of the conversation so we can start to really kind of add those missing middle housing types, the apartments, the townhomes, the small cottage style single family, and integrate those into the community, again, that would actually live here year round and help Hyannis be the vibrant, exciting 24/7 place that we all hope it can be.
And of course, officials here in the town of Barnstable, as well as Cape Cod Commission staff, really into getting resident feedback. So that was part of the survey. They're going to continue getting resident feedback with a series of public meetings that are coming up. Tell me a little bit about these public meetings and what you guys hope to take away from those meetings.
Sure. So the town of Barnstable and the Cape Cod Commission have been out talking to a broad range of stakeholders, and now we feel like we need to just engage the residents, the citizens of Hyannis. So we do have 2 meetings coming up. One is February 2nd. Is that right?
Yeah.
One is next Tuesday, and it's at the Senior Center, and then one's the Tuesday after, the 13th, also at the Senior Center. I'm sorry, so those are the 6th and the 13th meetings, where we're inviting just the broad public to come and just really, again, hear your feedback about Hyannis. What is it like to live here? What are the things you love about Hyannis that we need to preserve? What are some of the challenges that you're facing that maybe the town and the commission working together can start to address. So we're really just asking people to come out, engage with us, take a few minutes out of your day. There'll be a brief presentation, but really just we want to invite you in to have a quick conversation so we can understand the place that you live from your perspective.
Yeah, very important to get that feedback as you make plans for the future. Thank you so much
Sure.
for joining us today. We really appreciate it and look forward to chatting with you again in the near future.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Our guest today was Interim Growth Management Director Elizabeth Jenkins. The Senior Center wants to help residents age in place safely. To learn more about that effort, we chat with Assistant Senior Services Director Donna Burns. Many seniors would prefer to age in place and remain in their home. To learn more about how we can make those homes safer for seniors, we have with us Assistant Senior Services Director Donna Burns. Donna, tell me about a recent project that you're working on to make sure that seniors that are aging in place are doing so safely.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for giving me the opportunity to let people know about this new program that we've launched here at the Senior Center. You mentioned 90% of seniors, their greatest desire is to stay in their home. They want to age in the place where they feel safe and protected in a community they love. The problem is that home can be the most dangerous place for someone as they age. And that's because of fall risks. Fall risks are now the #1 serious health issue for seniors as they age. And actually the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have that as a point of serious consideration, how to mitigate falls with seniors. And in conversation with Claudia Borden, our outreach coordinator, we talked a lot about this. She goes in and visits seniors at home. We realized that we could actually make some small changes in people's homes that could make it much safer for them.
Wow, so important, I think. I know you found, the Senior Center found when they did a needs assessment that so many people want to age in place. They don't want to be torn away from their home that they've lived in for years. So what are things that are most dangerous in their home that you're finding? What causes falls? Is it stairs, showers? What kind of changes can you make to a house to make it a little safer and lessen the risk of falling?
Well, actually, we can go even smaller than that. So there were some obvious things that could be done that have a higher cost, grab bars and showers, and maybe, modification to stairs. However, even things as simple as changing lighting, making sure there's adequate lighting, removing tripping risks such as scatter rugs, maybe stacks of magazines or mail that, the senior is having difficulty disposing of, moving some furniture, tacking cords down to the floor, wrapping them up. Just simple things that when you live in a home day to day, you don't even notice them. And, potentially any one of those could contribute to a very serious fall that could have catastrophic consequences for a senior aging in place.
Yeah, because we know that fall can actually have other health implications that occur after the fall.
Absolutely. And just to give you some context, I said it's a serious program. A serious problem. 1/3 of people over 65 fall each year, and the risk increases exponentially. And actually, anyone 80 and over, half of them can expect to have a fall some point in each year. And the intent of this program, we receive grant funding from the Hyannis Rotary and our friends of the Barnstable Council on Aging. We will go in, a staff member and a volunteer, into a seniors program with their invitation, of course, free of charge, and we're going to do a walkthrough. We will have a bag of supplies with a reusable shopping bag that the folks get to keep, small flashlights that can go on a side table. If someone has a power outage, they have a flashlight next to the bed if they wake up in the middle of the night. That's a very common reason for falling. We have batteries, so we can change batteries and smoke detectors. We are going to have light bulbs to replace lighting exterior and interior so that people have adequate bright lighting so that they can see footing in front of them. We'll have night lights that we'll put in strategic areas such as bedrooms and hallways so that in the middle of the night, if the lights aren't on, someone's not stumbling to find their way and potentially fall. We'll also, if there are some magazines or whatnot that a senior's having a difficult time on their own disposing of, we'll take them away for them. They're all small fixes, but they can have a very big impact.
Yes, it's so important, I think, to make sure that we limit the risks. And I tell you, those night lights are awesome. I have them all over my house. It's so important when you get up because you can't see, your eyes haven't adjusted. So really, if someone's interested in this program, how would they sign up for it? Do they just need to call the Senior Center?
Just call us at 508-862-4750. We'd be glad to set up an appointment. And for those that would like to learn more, we're actually having a workshop. It's Wednesday, February 22nd at 1:30, and we're going to go through the whole program and let you know. And I want to assure people, naturally there will be staff people there, so these are people that you already know that will come in and help you and work through this checklist and just give you some ideas and about what we can do to help you. It's free of charge with thanks to the Rotary and our friends group, and we really do want to make you as safe as possible in your home. And I hope that they give us a call and take advantage of this free program.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for telling us all about the new program. We really appreciate it and look forward to chatting with you again in the near future.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon, Donna.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
My guest today, of course, Assistant Senior Services Director Donna Burns. Now let's find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. The MSPCA in Centerville is hosting a polar plunge to raise money. Participants will jump in the water at Craigville Beach this Sunday at noon. Registration begins at the beach at 11:15. Any donation over $50 earns a Super Bowl Sunday Polar Plunge sweatshirt. Former Cotuit Library Director Jenny Wiley will return to the library to talk about her experience traveling to India. Wiley will share stories and pictures from her trip last fall. The talk will be held Tuesday, February 7th at 3 It is free to attend. All are welcome. Call the Cotuit Library to sign up. Now, here's a look at today's board, committee, and commission meeting schedule for the rest of the week. Well, thanks for joining us today. We will be back tomorrow with another great show for you. Tomorrow, we're going to talk with Town Manager Mark Ells. We'll talk with State Senator Julian Sear, and we'll get an in-depth look at tomorrow's Town Council meeting with President Eric Steinhelber. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sara Mannal.